No, he was just asking me.
By the hair of our chinny chin chin.
Councilmember Antonio Villaraigosa on stage.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to a meeting of the Los Angeles City Council for today, Wednesday, March 2nd, 2005. City Council meets every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday at 10 a.m. Meetings are open to the public, and we do invite you to join us. For members of the public unable to attend council meetings, we can be viewed live on your cable station, Channel 35. We can also be viewed live via webcast from the city's homepage or heard via council phone. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Smith, Villaraigosa, Weisstein, Padilla, 10 members present and a quorum, Mr. President.
Thank you very much. The council is officially in session. And colleagues, I think goes without saying, we have a bare quorum and only expect a bare quorum for today's meeting. So brevity and focus will be much appreciated today. Let's move the agenda. Madam Clerk, first item, please.
First order of business is approval of the minutes.
Mr. Zine moves and Ms. Gruhl seconds.
Commendatory resolutions for approval.
Mr. Smith moves and Mr. Reyes seconds.
Mr. President, do you wish to take up public comment at this time?
Let's dispense with consent items and take public comment up after that.
On the regular agenda, items for which public hearings have been held, items 1 through 14 are before council. Items 12, 13, and 14 all have 2 reports on the file. A motion is required on those 3 items.
Okay, members, we do need motions on 12, 13, and 14. Items 1 through 14 have had public hearings in committee. A motion from the floor to be required to reopen the public hearings. Mr. Garcetti? Call special? Okay, Mr. Garcetti calls 14 special. Ms. Gruhl, I believe, calls item 1 special. And we still need motions on items 12 and 13. Do I have a motion on item 12 or 13? Mr. Labange?
Item 12, is that the CRA motion there? I make a motion on 12 and 13. Move forward.
To adopt which reports? There are 2 on the files. To adopt everything?
I'm going to check with staff. Adopt my committee report, obviously, Maria. Adopt my committee report.
Okay, that's 12 and 13. Any other specials on items 1 through 14? If there's no further request for specials, then let's open the roll on the balance of the items, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
Those items are approved. Next items, please.
Next items are items for which public hearings have not been held. Items 15 through 26, 10 votes are required for consideration.
Okay, I do have a card in item 15. We'll call that item special. On the balance of the items, I do not have speaker cards. Public hearings are open and closed. Do we have any specials, requests for specials on 16 through 26? Mr. Labange.
19, receive and file, please.
Move to receive and file item 19. Is there any objection? Seeing none, so ordered. The balance of the items still before us. Madam Clerk, please open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
Those items are approved. Next items, please.
Next items are closed session items 27 through 32, and there is a request on item number 30 from the city attorney to continue that matter for 1 week, which would be March 9th.
Okay, without objection, members, item 30 is continued. Let's hold the balance of the closed session items on the desk. And if that brings us to the end of our agenda, let's come back to item number 1.
President and colleagues, they're about ready to hand it out. So do you want to go? It hasn't been distributed yet. I can either verbally provide that if the council members are okay with that.
Let's go ahead and give it a minute, since we do have 2 other items called special that should be done relatively quickly, and we'll conclude with general public comment today. Let's proceed then to item number 15 at this time and call forward Sylvia Lynn Hawkins to address the council on item 15.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Ms. Sylvia Lynn Hawkins from District Number 9. I would say no on number 15. This is the 10 Commandments ordinance by our first consideration. Since 56% of people polled believe this monument is appropriate to stand up in our state capitol. This 10 Commandment is 97% of our City Hall state government.
Ms. Hawkins, this has nothing to do with what you're speaking of. You need to speak to the item before us, so I'm going to have to ask you to conclude.
Removing this monument and accepting hearsays.
Ma'am, you're not speaking to the item before us, and if you don't speak to the item before us, I'm going to have to ask you to finish.
One item before us, number 15. Removing this monument and accepting
Okay, ma'am, that's going to be it. This concludes public comment on item 15. Any members of the council wishing to be heard on item 15? Seeing none, let's open the roll on item 15, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
That is approved. Well, it's an ordinance, and that carries over for a second reading. Coming back to item 14 now, Mr. Garcetti. Item 14. Forthwith on 15, please.
Change is still circulating.
Okay, well then let's proceed at this point to general public comment for today's meeting. An opportunity for members of the public to address the council on items within our jurisdiction but not appearing on today's agenda. And at this point in time, the council calls forward Mr. John Walsh, followed by Susie Metkins, and then our delegation from the South Central Farmers.
You know, I think that this board should subject themselves to drug testing, narcotics testing. There's been a very, very serious charge made by Parks and carried in the LA Times, and that is that an ad that Mr. Hahn did 4 years ago was racist. Now I'm asking Mr. Villaraigosa, did you consider the ad racist? Is not Horacio Vignali a friend of yours? Wasn't he named in DEA documents as a known heroin trafficker in the LA Times and in the Pardon Gate? Wasn't his son a cocaine dealer who went to jail? And didn't you, I'm asking, is it true that you and Park Skelton were paid to circulate the petition to spring him? I'm asking, is that a simple question? I'm asking Mr. Parks. And is not Mr. Horacio Vignali not an Hispanic, but an Italian, as white as I am? So how could the mayor be racist? Notice how quiet everything gets. And to think, I want you to know I'm an equal opportunity. Mr. Hertzberg is a racist too. I want to show you the ad the Times will not print, will not do a story on. Here is a white child being tortured by the LAUSD in an instrument of torture. This only went to white people, white voters. The jolly white giant is a racist. Now, Schwarzenegger here is supporting a racist. Is this not a story? I've worked for the LAUSD for 20 years. Is there anybody up here who doesn't see the racism in a blonde boy on an instrument of torture? Is there anyone? Raise your hand if you think this is not a racist ad. Not a single board member has raised their hand. Everybody realizes this is a racist ad. That's why I'm challenging the jolly white giant. Jack, LAUSD teacher in the Beanstalk. If the mayor doesn't want to debate him, I'll debate him on LAUSD. I'm telling you right now that yes, the Times supports Villaraigosa and Hertzberg. They're going after Hahn. They will not do any story that makes Hahn look good. They go after his wife's ballet company. I'm asking the Times, and I'm asking everybody here, to call 237-7000 and talk to the editor, John S. Carroll, and say, we want a story on Horacio Vignali, Italian, and Carlos Vignali and their ties to Antonio Villaraigosa, so the mayor of this city doesn't have to be called a racist. And also, Bernie X isn't here today. You know Bernie X. He's no longer Bernie Parks. Bernie Parks has become a black militant. He's been a black militant for over 5 weeks.
So let me ask you to conclude so I can call other members forward, please.
I think I've caused enough trouble for today. And notice how quiet they got. Antonio, I think you're a racist.
Susie Metkins.
My name is Susie Meekins. I'm a resident of Watts, and I came here to talk to Ms. Hahn because for 4 years we've been telling you about how Ms. Cotton is not working with the community people, and I have written you letters. I got the letters right here if you want to see them again, and we just can't take it another 4 years. We cannot have Ms. Cotton in that office another 4 years. She does not work with the community people. We don't get any information from her. We don't get information about meetings that are coming to Watts. And this you know. I have written you, I have written you, and I have written you. And we just can't, we will not stand for another 4 years of that woman up there in that office supposed to be representing Watts.
Thank you, ma'am. Let me call forward Alejandra Ruiz, Marta Ruiz, Lubiano Rubio, and Vicente Cuara.
Muy buenos días, señor presidente municipal y los concejales. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, council members and present.
Por el motivo que estamos más aquí en frente de las autoridades,
The more that we're in front of you, the authorities,
vinimos a recordarles que no se olviden de los campesinos.
we came to remind you not to forget about us, the campesinos.
Ahora, señor presidente y concejales, esperamos que los den la mano derecha.
Now, council members, we want you to give us your right arm, your right hand.
Porque queremos que nos dejen trabajar las tierras, sembrar productos y que salgan alimentación.
We want you to let us work the soil and that we could produce food to feed our people.
Para que haya alimentos para los niños, porque los padres de esos niños, que somos nosotros, no los alcanza para lo que ganamos para darles de comer.
We want to produce enough food for the children who we are the fathers of those children, because there's not enough food for us or for us to be fed.
¿Qué pasaría como ustedes autoridades llegaran a una casa de esa gente bajo de recursos, llorando a esos niños de hambre? ¿Por qué? Porque los padres no les alcanza para darles su alimento. Y gracias, señor presidente y concejales.
What happens if you come to our house or come to a low-income house and see the children crying for food and hunger? And that's our children right now. Thank you very much for listening to us.
Okay, thank you very much. This concludes general public comment for today's meeting. Madam Clerk, are we ready with item 1 or 14 yet?
Yes, Mr. President, the amending motion has been distributed on item number 1.
Okay, Ms. Gruhl on item number 1.
Thank you, Mr. Padilla. Just briefly, the motion amendment in front of you presents on number 1 on today's agenda. It be amended to present and adopt the attached ordinance in lieu of the ordinance attached to the file in order to accomplish the following: clarify authority for expenditures from the fund, enable council to transfer monies from the efficiency projects account to the police hiring account within the fund, and authorize expenditures for recruitment expense and other expenses necessary to properly equip sworn officers who receive a uniform field officer incentive and who are at the level of sergeant or below. So I would ask for an aye vote.
Okay. Any other questions or comments on this item? If not, then without objection, we'll consider the matter as amended. Madam Clerk, please open the roll. Please close the roll and tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
Okay, that carries over for a second reading. Next item, please.
Next item, Mr. President, item number 14 is still on the desk.
Okay, Mr. Garcetti.
We've circulated a amending motion for 14, so I just would move that. Changes a couple of the technical aspects of it.
Okay, without objection, we'll consider item 14 as amended. Mr. Reyes on item 14.
Yes, thank you, Council President. First, I want to thank my colleague, Councilman Garcetti, for promoting these very important concept. You know, we talk about the original suburbs, and we talk about all these historic, great architectural pieces that make up a great number of housing facilities throughout the city, but they're concentrated where the city began back at the turn of the century. What we have, council members, is a situation where many of the folks who have been living in these buildings for generations are still struggling. Many of them are working, the working poor, who inherited these grand old buildings. You find them in different pockets in East San Fernando Valley, in San Pedro, parts of Watts, in Venice, where the old enclaves, historic buildings were actually developing. This program requires the ability to engage people through different language and cultural processes. Many of the folks who are living in these buildings feel they have to go, it's almost like going to court. The way they go before a zoning administrator, before they go before the historic, cultural committees that review applications. And so we need the type of staff that understands how to listen and how to deliver what the message is and the objectives of these applicants who are trying to improve their homes. In many, many cases, it could be because the officer within, or the board, the historic board, are overworked. They're working long hours, they're volunteers. And so how we handle the people who are coming from different cultural backgrounds, different languages are treated is very crucial. So I appreciate the language that's been submitted in the substitute motion. It's a friendly amendment, but I rise to bring forward these concerns because many of the communities are affected do have the kind of social and economic conditions that does intimidate them when they are going into these settings. Many times we find seniors who all they want to do is keep their homes warm. They want to change the windows, but they need a certain type of wood, a certain type of paneling, a certain kind of architectural nuance that doesn't take away the integrity of that particular home, but all they can afford is what you find off the shelf in your building supply store, and it doesn't fit. They begin the work, they cut out the window, they put the chicken wire on, they start putting on the mud, the stucco, they get stopped, they don't have a window, they're getting hit with permit violations, and all they want to do is keep their home warm. Unbeknownst to them, there was an actual process where they had to go before a board, get matching windows, and go through a whole procedure that ends up penalizing them. And these are real hardships for a great number of people that are living around the city, and we need to become much more proactive in engaging that whole dynamic. So I appreciate the amendment, but I want to bring to light the kind of hardships, the kind of challenges that a good number of our constituents, many of them are seniors, and many of them are recent homeowners who don't speak English, who are working 2 or 3 jobs and just trying to create a home. So again, thank you, Councilman Garcetti. I hope the rest of the council members understand the severity of this issue, because it's usually our offices that end up with that case and we have to troubleshoot it, and there's a lot of work that we have to catch up just to make the individuals whole and keep the integrity of the architecture and the character of the community whole. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Reyes. And Mr. Garcetti, clarification on which report or both reports as amended?
I don't know if there's a difference in the 2 reports. This amends, I believe, the Plum report. So should we move the Plum report?
We can move the Plum report. I'm just glad we added the whole notion of diversity and everything else.
Okay, cool. So we'll move the Plum report.
That's sufficient for the clerk?
And this amends, I think it was item B in there.
Okay.
Is that correct?
With that amendment then, let's go ahead and open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
That is approved. Madam Clerk, next item, please.
Council has motions for posting and referral.
Motion shall be posted and referred.
There's an excuse on the desk. Councilmember Cardenas requests to be excused Friday, June 3rd to arrive at 11:30 for city business that meets council policy.
Mr. Cardenas is excused.
And that clears the desk for closed session.
Okay. In conformance with California law, the council will now adjourn into closed session. Sergeants, would you please clear the chambers?
Council's item number 27, and that's settlement in the case of Alex Umana versus City of Los Angeles, and that's in settlement in the amount of $1,500,000.
Okay. Please open the roll. Please close the roll and tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
That is approved. Forthwith, please. Next item.
Next item is item number 28, and that's settlement in the case of City of Los Angeles versus Southwestern Properties, and that's in the amount of $512,500.
Okay, please open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
10 eyes.
That is approved as well. Next item, please. Forthwith.
Next item is item number 29, and that's settlement in the case of AB Cellular LA versus City of Los Angeles, and that's in the form of 4.3 million credits, and that would be over 4 months.
Please open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
10 eyes.
That is approved. Forthwith.
Item number 31 is the case of William Singleton versus City of Los Angeles, and that is settlement in the amount of $200,000.
Please open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
10 eyes.
That is approved. Forthwith.
And item number 32 is settlement in the case of Danny Holland versus City of Los Angeles, and that's in the amount of $175,000.
Please open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
10 eyes.
That is approved. Forthwith.
And that clears the desk.
Okay. Colleagues, it's the end of our agenda today. Do we have any announcements, Mr. Labange?
Before we have announcements, I asked Sharon, so if, Mr. President, and item 12 and 13, I believe, I wanted to correct on this, and 13, excuse me. So could we reconsider 13, is it? Is that correct, Sharon?
Yeah, 13, that
Okay.
is correct.
It's a motion for reconsideration. Let's open the roll on reconsideration. Close the roll and tabulate the vote.
10 eyes.
Item 13 is now back before us. Ms. So.
Yes, item 13, the Personnel and Budget and Finance Committee reports were actually the later reports. The position authorities and funding were already provided in the budget, so we would recommend that you move the Personnel and Budget and Finance Committee reports.
Okay, so we have a different motion on this item now. If there's nothing further, let's open the roll on the new motion. Close the roll, tabulate the vote.
10 eyes.
Okay, that is approved. Item 13. Mr. Garcetti, did we need to reconsider item 14?
Yes, please. If we move the budget and finance report instead on
let's
14,
reconsider 14 first. Open the roll on reconsideration. Close the roll and tabulate the vote.
10 eyes.
14 back before us, and we're moving the
budget and finance report with the 14B amendment.
Okay, let's go. Mr. Reyes?
Yes, I just wanted to add a note on the issue of dealing with these HPOZs. I have asked in the past through Plum, the HPOZ task force, to create a demonstration program for low-income households with children that have 5 years, that have children of 5 years and under in the HPOZ areas, in order for us to understand what are we dealing with when it comes to the volume of work and the proportion of the population base that's living under these conditions, in order for us to address the needs of their, should I say, economic challenges when they're trying to improve their homes. Again, just to highlight the severity of the situation for many of the families who are stuck in older houses that don't have the ability to make those improvements according to the specifications of those specific areas.
Okay, that objection. Let's open.
Just want to ask a question. Can I press my button?
Yes, you can.
Mr. Reyes,
Mr.
would
Labange.
this apply your goal, that objective, to try to get more staffing for HPOZs throughout the city?
What it does is two levels. One, it begins to bring forward the need for the city to call in, through the Mills Act and other state funds, information that gives people the ability to access these monies when they're trying to improve their homes. Right now, there's many families out there don't have a clue that they went through a particular process. They can have resources to do the improvements without burning them any further, choosing between paying for the mortgage and paying for their food. So that's one dynamic. The other is what kind of resources do we need for technical assistance? Many folks just want a basic change to their home and aren't aware of all the planning of overlay zone requirements. Each overlay zone has their own set of criteria. Many folks don't understand that they have to go through these different hoops. And they get very angry. They say, well, why should I have to do that? It's my house. Why do I have to get permission from so-and-so to change this window this way if it makes my home warmer? So we have to provide them technical assistance in how to process that paperwork. And I can't tell you right now because I don't know where this is going to go in terms of how much money is going to be generated to hire more staff. That is very, for me, premature to say that. I don't know if any resources are there for that. And too bad Bernard Parks is not here, the chair of Budget and Finance, but he'd be one of the persons that can probably chime in on this. Because again, this is going to get down to how this body is going to start prioritizing what funds we do have.
Right. I just wanted to stand to support the effort, but I think we should make it a priority because it's all about neighborhoods. And there's a great historic preservation movement in Los Angeles, in many of our districts, and I think we let the people down when we don't have the staff there, which is necessary. And there's a quality of life issue and that is so important to be able to process, because when we tell people it's going to take 5 years, that just stuns them. And I don't think we should do anything that takes 5 years. So I just wanted to stand to support historic preservation in the effort we're trying to do, and in any way we can to get additional staffing or get revenue for that or seek federal or state grants. Because there's one thing about our neighborhoods, they are unique in such a way that they deserve preservation. So I thank you, Mr. Reyes.
Well, thank you, sir. And I just wanted to add, John Ferraro created the first historic overlay zone in Angelino Heights. I have the largest historic overlay zone in Highland Park. I probably have the most of them in one district. I believe I'm up to 5 now. So when you talk about this issue, I think we all know we're trying to reach that point of what you just said, how to preserve our communities. But I need to emphasize that we've been pushing on the planning department to do so many tasks, so many projects, from overlay zones to specific plans to conditional community design overlay zones, and we have not added any staff in any of that work. And so right now I'm very focused on how we look at how we move people, which skill set is going into which area, and how do we become more efficient as the planning department. Our neighborhood councils don't have the planning support they need. Our various homeowner associations engaging on all these issues of compatible development around their neighborhoods don't have the staff. So I'm going to keep saying this every opportunity I get. I understand it's not the police department, it's not the fire department, but when you look at our municipal planning police powers, it's probably one of the most direct ways we affect the quality of life of our neighborhoods. So I believe the planning department has to rise a little in priority in order to give us the ability to serve our communities the way we've been asked, given the work program we've generated for them. So I just wanted to echo what you're saying, Councilman Labange, but in the bigger picture, the planning department is not getting the support it needs when it comes to the personnel to deliver the product.
Lastly, could I just say to Ed, I like when you talk about Angelino Heights because that was in the old 4th District, and guess who the deputy was who handled that?
I wonder what school he went to.
All right, there's nothing further on this item. Let's open the roll on the new motion as amended. Please close the roll and tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
That is approved. And now I believe this is the end of our agenda for today. Colleagues, do we have any announcements? Announcements, Mr. Labange.
Members, today is National Read Day in all our schools, and I know some of us that went out to read, and I'm going out to read. I just wanted to bring my absolute favorite book, Mike Mulligan and his steam shovel, and the town of Popperville, how he saved the town, and his beautiful steam shovel, Mary Ann. And I remember the library, Cahuenga Branch Library, now in Mr. Garcetti's district on Santa Monica Boulevard. When I was a child, I went to get that book. So Read to Me is a great program, and I know many, it's overdue. Yeah, thank you. Okay. Many of our seniors are involved in our library programs and reading programs, and there's nothing like reading. It's a great enticement for education and for building great strength in one's mind. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Labange. And colleagues, I know it's not Election Day, but Election Day is upon us next Tuesday. March 8th is the city's primary election. We want to encourage everybody to get out and vote. And everybody watching the council meeting today, make sure you spread the word amongst your family and neighbors. Other announcements, colleagues? Do we have adjourning motions today? If there are no adjourning motions, and Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Cardenas, Garcetti, Gruel, Han, Labange, Reyes, Smith, Weiss, Sine, Padilla.
Thank you all very much. This meeting is adjourned.
You are watching LA City View, Channel 35. Your city, your channel.